So Roman, okay, I should ask you. So what are your thoughts on what they've done?
So first and foremost, highlighting the El Primero, the chronograph, the real Daytona, as I like to call it. You know, the watch that's on your wrist, I think you knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
It just so happens. I know what it takes. I know the amount of time and years that it takes to do research and development in order to create a new timepiece, but your timing couldn't be more perfect. We're in a market where smaller, more refined, more dressier three-hand watch is it. But the amount of stuff that you packed into that one watch at the price point that it's at, I think it's an absolute steal in the market today.
I totally agree with you, man.
Appreciate the feedback, guys.
Bro,
Thank you.
I would just like to say also, this kind of puts all the independent watch brands on notice as well. You know, like every single independent watchmaker wants to make his spiritual three-hand watch. He's praying over the moonlight at nighttime.
While I'm back there,
Yeah.
you know what I said? I said, I tell all my clients the same thing. They're chasing something for the reason of the fact that it's unobtainium because they can't get it. I'm like, guys, open your eyes. You got companies that have been doing this for hundreds of years, and they still do a better job, and it's obtainable.
And it's better priced as well, you know?
Yeah.
So that watch, platinum with the lapis center part, with the mother of pearl seconds indicator as well, with a caliber that has won over 200 observatory trials, right? 200?
Absolutely
right?
true.
And what's the price of such a watch, sir?
It's 48,900 Swiss.
And is it possible for a normal person to purchase this watch?
Absolutely.
There you go.
It's obtainable. It's obtainable. It's well
list.
priced, and you forgot to talk about the finishes.
Yeah,
I mean,
and spectacularly
the
finished.
finishes
Thank you.
are spectacular.
Appreciate it, guys.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roman.
Thank you, bro.
Enjoy your party. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care. Good to see you. Let's keep walking.
Yeah. So Roman, like other key takeaways from the fair, I mean, what are you thinking?
So I am about 70% through. I still have a few appointments left. Last year, quite quickly, I was able to come up with favorites. Right. The watch I'm wearing, the Freak Nomad S, was one of my picks. The Eternal Calendar from IWC.
Right.
This year, I'm having a lot of trouble narrowing down favorites to a couple of watches even. First and foremost, obviously, the talk of the town, Rolex, right? We know that the Land Dweller obviously looks like a oyster quartz. It has hints of a royal oak case, and the going around meme is what? The Tissot watch, right? But I am happy about the fact that they came out with a new line. I think it's going to have just as much success as what they did with the Sky Dweller.
Absolutely.
So getting Rolex out of the way quickly, the stone dials are absolutely amazing.
Right.
My opinion on the turquoise dial, I think that dial is amazing, but I think it's on the wrong watch. I just don't like the way it looks in that Oyster Flex watch. Put that dial into a steel watch, put that dial into a platinum watch. That's my take on Rolex. Tudor, you know, their sister company or brother company, whatever you want to call it. I love the red.
I have to say, I totally agree with you with Rolex. The Land Dweller, I mean, it is their version of integrated bracelet sports chic watch. They had something missing from that category. They had back in '77 the launch of the Oyster Quartz, but what I love about it is they brought that category in, and they did it with a lot of internal content, right? You know, first 5 hertz or high frequency movement that they've ever done. They've done also this crazy new escapement with the silicone double wheels and the rocker. They even improved the Siloxy hairspring so it works at high frequency. And I also really like, I just had a conversation with the CEO of Kosk, right? And I like how everyone's like, I've made a chronometer, or I've done the latest, greatest thing in achieving like the advancement in precision. But so few people actually certify it. And so I love the fact that Rolex did this. It's Kosk certified. It also has the superlative chronometer certification from themselves, -2/+2. Now, what was really interesting was I went upstairs and there's a case with gem set Land Dwellers. Dude, baguette diamonds in the bezel and then fully gem set. And now you kind of understand what they can do with that watch also, even with the dials, as you saying, you know, you love the stone dials, and one of the stone dials you felt was in the wrong model. Imagine that stone dial in a Land Dweller, dude. That would be sick.
Right. I will come back and say that, look, we're getting away from hype. We're getting away from a market where all people saw was dollar signs. We're getting it back into horology.
Yeah.
And Rolex actually punctuating horology, punctuating the movement. Basically everything you just said about that movement, you know, they're in line with all the other brands are trying to do. And really, when you think about Rolex, when did we ever talk about Rolex and movement improvements? And we talk about, you know, the fancier balance wheels or different use of materials. We don't. We usually talk about the style, we talk about the popularity, we talk about the hype, and most of all, it was all about dollars. Now, I don't remember the last time I spoke about Rolex, and I spoke about the actual horology.
Exactly,
right?
dude.
We talk about the case, we talk about the bezels, we talk about all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
And I know one thing that's nice to talk about also is not just the watches we like, but the people we like the best in the industry. And I know you love Matthew from Ulysse Nardin. I do as well, and I have to say that I wouldn't say it's the watch that I would wear, but I love what he did with the diver air, right? Like he's like, because they kind of, and I think it was important. Like they've done a great job with the Freak, or he did a great job with the Freak. Now, what does he go and what does he bring excitement to? And bringing it to a diving watch, but in that way, where he's got it to be super shock resistant, 5,000 Gs, 200 meters water resistant. He's got this crazy skeletonized movement in grade 5 titanium. He's got this crazy.
How about it's 52 grams?
It's 50, and it's 52 grams.
With
The
the
world's
strap.
lightest diving
Yeah.
watch. I mean, all of a sudden there's a sense of excitement around a category that's been around forever, since the 1950s. And I gotta applaud him for that. He's a smart guy.
How about the fact that he released one novelty, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
booth,
exactly.
the booth is set up around that novelty. It's very
Yes.
interactive, it's very inviting.
Right.
I think a 52-gram diving watch is a hell of an achievement to begin with from a technical perspective, right?
Yes.
And here's the thing is that he's taken one step at a time. Last year, the concentration was on the Freak with this watch, right?
Yeah.
He's since they've been doubling down on the Freak line, making different variations of it, less expensive, less complicated, more complicated. But this year, it's just the diver. And honestly, I can't wait till next year because the next obvious choice is their DNA, which is the chronometer. So I can't wait to see what the new marine chronometer is going to look like. I hope they don't lose the original DNA, i.e. that hobnail bezel that was in the original chronometer that they made for the ships. But, you know, time will show.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk to you about also is a watch that didn't show here, but they're based in America, so I can kind of hook you up with them at some point. It's the relaunch of Urban Jurgensson, right? So they even took our phones when we went in for to the room where it was being presented, but it was sick. So it's been bought by the Rosenfield family from Los Angeles. Andy is, I think, the managing partner of Guggenheim, which owns the Dodgers. So he's like a very serious businessman. He's a huge watch collector, and he recruited Kari Voutilainen to make these watches and be the co-CEO along with his son Alex, who's also really smart. And the watches that they launched, I mean, I can't describe what they are because I signed an NDA, but they're mind-blowing. And I think when we're talking about this period of authentic watchmaking, they've like set a really high benchmark. So I want you to check those out as well.
I would love to, absolutely would love to. It'd be a great opportunity to check it out.
And another watch which was really cool, which I kind of didn't even expect, was, you know, Bulgari the night before Watches and Wonders dropped. They launched their Ultra Tourbillon, Octofinissimo Ultra Tourbillon, world's thinnest. I mean, it starts to get a little ridiculous.
They're a little salty because, you know, they come out, they beat the record, they get a thin watch, then Ferrari comes out, Richard Mille, and then Konstantin Chaikin goes, oh, hold my beer. And they're like, well, you know what, F you, we're going to do the world's thinnest tourbillon. Now, mind you, they already have the world's thinnest minute repeater and the lightest, right?
Yes.
The car actually have that watch in office.
Nice.
And that watch is insane.
I love that watch.
And my thing was the sound. How do you make the watch sound? Now, to say it's the best sounding minute repeater in the world, I'd be lying.
Yes.
But for what it is and its size, it actually sounds good. That's exactly that. It's exactly that.
No, and I also found that kind of entertaining because I remember that year when, first of all, they came and dropped the Octofinissimo Ultra, and then just a few months later, like Richard Mille comes out with the, and you know, I'm a big Richard Mille fan.
I call it the plate.
The plate.
Let's call it what it is.
But let's also like. That doesn't, you know, have the same kind of design acumen that I really like in a Richard Mille.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that, like, my frustration with that watch is you need a special tool to adjust the time or to rewind it, right? Most of the guys that I can think of are not going to blow any more than, let's say, 5% of their net worth on a watch, right?
Of course.
So, you know, kind of the net worth of a guy that has something like that. I've never met a guy like that would actually remember to bring a tool anywhere, right? You know?
It can get a bit annoying and at that price point, but then when you're trying to make the world's thinnest watch, so often you don't have a choice.
Exactly. Well, the cool thing about the Bulgari, though, is it does have these two crowns, or they're like kind of flat crowns integrated into it, one for winding and one for time setting. And they moved away from the regulator, and they've got just a little time sub-dial on the upper right of the watch, but it works to me. Do you know Antoine Pin? This is the CEO of Tag Heuer.
Oh, hey, pleasure to
Roman
meet you.
Sharf.
Pleasure to meet you.
Exactly.
I was just in there, actually.
Yeah.
You should stay.
Well, we took a look at all the novelties.
Well, let's go. Since we have Antoine here, you know, let's talk a little bit about their watches. So I love the fact that Formula One is back. Now it's using the solar graph movement as well, so it's solar powered. It's just a great bridge or like gateway for a lot of people to kind of get into watches. It's beautiful, it's fun, it's like
it's
accessible.
affordable.
Exactly. I gotta say, I love the ceramic split-second chronograph as well, in that Monaco case with the bridges in ceramic as well, and with the red sapphire element. elements. It was really cool. So the key thing, if I may say, is Antoine is realigning anything that they do in the future has to be connected to being the ultimate in precision timekeeping. The brand that tells you the difference between victory and defeat, and it's always on the side of victory. So that's very cool,
You're
right?
amazing. Can I hire you?
No,
I'm looking for
he's not for hire, sorry.
I have no voice anymore.
He's not. Unfortunately, he's not for hire. I will tell you this:
Right.
with the shuffle that took place within LVMH altogether, I'm expecting amazing results. Now, the Formula One thing fell on your lap rather rapidly. So the one thing I said when I walked out of Tech, I said I cannot wait till next year to give you guys time to catch up. The fact that you now have Formula One, because such a short amount of time came past, didn't really give you a whole lot of time to prepare.
Oh, I like that one.
But I can only imagine what's coming down the pike.
Well, it's also really cool because it's the year where all the right CEOs are in the right jobs, or let's say 90% of them, right? So Antoine, who's he basically was raised in the Tag Heuer, is back, and he loves it more than anyone, and he feels it in his blood. But I would say the same thing is true for Jérôme Lambert as well, who's back at Jaeger. And I've never seen him happier, and the watches are great, right? The reversos were just killer.
How about the new technology with the minute repeater?
Absolutely.
Right? Something that's never been done, right?
Yeah.
Julien going over to Hublot, I think is a good move.
Actually, Julien,
he did have about a 5-minute stunt at Tech Heuer,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
It was maybe 15 minutes or so, right? Until he moved over, and then.
I got to say the big bangs. First of all, it's his 20th anniversary of that watch, but the 42mm ones in ceramic, the mint green, for example, which I think is the one my buddy Constant wants to buy for himself and his wife to share. You gonna get this for your wife? Go on record now.
Yes, babe, yes.
And I have to say, and I know sometimes people don't understand that there actually is a lot of content in Hublot. People tend to think of it because it's so connected to culture and lifestyle and so on, that it's only that. It is that, and it's definitely been a pioneer in that, but there's some phenomenal watchmaking in there. Look at the Mecha 10, for example, that they did in 42mm.
How about the second generation of the Unico movement? It's amazing.
Dude, second generation of the Unico movement has 2 double clutches that oscillate, and they have double layers of Liga wheels that have flexible teeth in them, to eliminate chronograph backlash and to eliminate also the use of a traditional spring jumper, right? And the minute one's being driven directly off the barrel, which they did back in 2009. So there's a lot of watchmaking going on in Hublot.
What he said.
Antoine, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Thank you so much for your time.
I'm going to hook you up with Roman so you guys can.
Absolutely. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you as well.
To go back to Hublot.
Yes.
My thing was it's near and dear to my heart because I was there 20 years ago when it all started. When it literally flipped the world upside down. Well, let's be fair, in the very beginning, perhaps the watchmaking or the horology wasn't that high end.
Yes.
But they have so improved over the years. And the problem is this: when you come up with a watch that's, I would say, very hype, very good looking, very design oriented, material oriented, right? I mean, Hublot brought us rubber, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Hublot brought us rubber straps, right? Let's start there. And my favorite from Hublot was when they managed to execute one of their crystal pieces that they called water.
Yeah.
To take water is clear.
Yes.
Water is completely see-through. You would think it's white. To be able to execute that crystal piece to where it literally resembles water, I was pretty amazed. And then there was this other color, I don't even know what to call it. It wasn't really Tiffany, it wasn't really green, it was a greenish, limeish. I have a picture of it somewhere. I can't even
I know exactly what color you're talking about.
I can't explain the color. It sort of looks, you know what it looks like?
Yeah.
It looks like a Loom watch.
Yes,
right?
it does. It's
not a Loom watch.
It's their Saxum sapphire crystal.
But the color is
the color's nuts.
It's like literally Loom.
The color looks like it's been plugged into an electric socket. Yeah.
So we talked about Bulgari. We talked about. Let's talk about IWC. Speaking of Formula One.
Yes.
The shock absorber was it 30,000 Gs?
Yeah.
So I asked. I didn't Google it yet. I was going to.
Right.
Where does one find an environment where you're under 30,000 Gs?
Yes.
Is that a spaceship? Is that a rocket taking off? I'm thinking to myself, I get it. So for example, Formula One driver, they will experience.
Right.
Let's see. When they're braking, it's 5 to 6 Gs. When they're accelerating, it's 2 to 2.5 Gs. Turning is about 4 to 5 Gs, right? This is 30,000 Gs.
Yeah, it's absolutely
So
nuts.
my question is, I was sending that watch into space, right? Now, I am biased. I told you I'm a Formula One fanatic, but I'm also Team Mercedes.
Yes.
So,
I see. Okay.
So obviously, the Total Wolf watch to me did well. A continuation of the Petronas line.
Yeah.
Also doing a Mark 20 in the Petronas line, which is nice and affordable.
Yes.
The chronograph is nice, and then also, of course, they had to do a tourbillon that can withstand 30,000 Gs. And again, I don't know what one needs to do to exert that type of force.
I gotta say, I just love the Ingenieur, you know? And the Ingenieur has always been that like one Genta design watch that kind of never really made it at the level the other ones did. I think part of it is also like, it wasn't created for playboys like the other ones were, it was created for scientists. And I'm like, do scientists really have that much money to buy Genta design watches? I don't know. But now they've actually figured it out. They made the watch much more appealing, a little bit slimmer. I gotta say the black ceramic version, which has now appeared on Ed Sheeran's wrist, is like everyone's talking about that. It's cool because it's a black ceramic watch that has no internal container as well, right? Which is the first time they've done that, which is really lovely. It's 42 mm, but in black ceramic it looks a little bit smaller. Now you flip the watch over and it's got this smoked sapphire crystal, but when you look inside of it, there's actually a little ceramic and the other ceramic levers. So they've taken the Peloton winding system, which is one of the most famous bidirectional winding systems, and they made it in ceramic also, dude. So there's a real integrity in terms of the
I wonder how many of those they broke before they got it right.
Yeah, exactly. There was a dude who was in charge of that, you know?
I'm sure.
Okay, we stopped outside of the Van Cleef and Arpels booth for a reason. So Roman had mentioned that he has been married for 22 years. So if you were to get something for your wife, may I recommend something from Van Cleef and Arpels? First of all, because everyone loves Van Cleef and Arpels. I know my wife does as well. And second of all,
unfortunately, they're expensive.
It's not inexpensive, but they've done a new watch called Le Bal des Amoureuses. The Dance of the Lovers. And so what's really cool was they had a watch called Lovers on the Bridge. And you had the man being one of the times, I can't forget if he was the hour, the minutes, and then the woman being one of the other ones as well. And they would advance kind of progressively up the top of this bridge. And at midnight they would kiss.
Or kiss and then it would jump backward, right?
Right, exactly, so they would kiss. And actually in the very original version of that, it was really funny because it was the woman who made the final step, the little lean in, and because like they were explaining to me, because you know, we are gentlemen, right? The woman has to finally give her assent at the end of it, which I thought was really cute. So now they've done a watch called the Bal des Amoureuses, where you have the same two lovers. You've got two shooting stars at the top that are retrograde shooting stars telling the hours and the minutes. And then when it becomes midnight, you have these lovers who are articulated like white gold, or actually there's many versions of it, gold, lovers dancing, and then behind it you've got this crazy canopy of like a Gonfa enamel painted with like the different times of the day. I think there's 4 different versions of it as well.
You painted or is it closing eye?
So
I didn't get a chance to look at that watch yet. That's why.
Those are miniature painted, but they have other watches that use. I mean, they're really good at using every single technique from cloisonné, from Picajou, which is the transparent one that looks like stained glass, to grisaille, which is the one that looks like it's white painting on black, and it comes like, you know, and it's got these kind of gray tones to it as well. And they are just capable of expressing so much beauty and so much romance while still being technical. Okay, we're gonna walk a little bit more this way as well. So we're gonna walk past Roger Dubuis. Now this is an interesting brand because when it first like came out in the end of the 90s and the early 2000s, to me it was just so cool, right? It was Geneva Seal, it was Bulletin d'Observatoire from Besançon, and it was like if Patek had a
limited
sexy
production, very little, you know.
Yeah, limited production, had like a sexy Latin cousin, it would be amazing. Then in the last couple of years, it's been to me a little bit lost, you know, if I can say, right? I'm not a huge fan of the whole hyper horology thing that it was doing. I respect some of the watches. I actually own the 42 titanium Moulin Balancier, and I think that's a great watch. But the kind of like the fact that it always had to do with like, you know, this crazy exuberance or whatever, it's starting to become a little bit of a dated message, especially when there's so much content within that brand, right? And what I loved were the watches that they launched this year. It's not old school, so it's not like they've gone back and replicated the homage or the sympathy, although all of those watches are now on display in the booth, showing that the new CEO, David Chaumet, who started his career in Roger Dubuis, loves that stuff. They brought Roger's daughter onto the stand as well, which is really cool. And they brought Jean-Marc Wiederick, who's the guy who collaborated with him on the first double retrograde perpetual calendar, onto the stand as well. So there's a real expression of like loving their own history finally. And then the 2 watches which they launched, the double retrograde, and the double retrograde perpetual calendar, tourbillon minute repeater, they're freaking dope. Let's talk about the simpler one, because I love the fact that it's 40 mm. I love the fact that it's 11 mm in terms of thickness. And it has as a signature within the 2 double retrograde indications, these really cool bridges with stunning inner angles on them, like beautifully finished. I think it's off to a very good start in terms of the right direction.
You know why I'm smiling?
Well, tell me.
Because I shot a piece of content in Roger Dubuis today.
Right.
I will literally play back the video,
right.
and it's literally what I told them inside. I walked in there, I didn't say anything to anybody. I worked freelance.
Yes.
Their head of PR or whoever came up, and I just showed them a few pictures.
Right.
The first picture I showed them is a Platinum Sympathy 37mm with the shaped curved crystal minute repeater.
Very nice.
I have the picture here.
Very nice.
The second piece I showed him as I walked by one of the cloisonné pieces, or the painted pieces, I showed him I had a piece unique from Roger Dubuis that had a picture of Jesus on it. It was a one-off that was ordered by somebody, somehow it ended up in my hands.
Right.
after I showed them those pictures, all of a sudden they started running around saying, oh, who are you, where are you? I said, just tell me about the watches.
Right.
And the one thing I told them is I said, is this a hint? Like, I looked at the thing, I looked at the buyer, actually, like, are you gonna come back and give me the stuff that you used to have? And they're like, well, we're kind of, and I forget what the motto was.
Right.
I recorded it because I actually asked her to repeat it to the camera.
Right.
But the idea behind the motto was like, hey, we're not going backwards, but we're going to go back and appreciate what we had and try to interpret it in a modern way.
Which is great.
And I told them, bring back the sympathy.
Yeah. Dude, yes.
Yeah, and
so we're just going on record that we really want you to bring back the sympathy because it's so unique.
I don't care about it, not so much. Okay, the sympathy, great. I love the rectangular, much more perpetual retrograde calendars.
Yeah.
I love all of that stuff.
The too much, the follow me, the golden square, they're all sick. You know what's really cool is they have a golden square on there with a triple retrograde.
Yeah, I saw that. It's actually right in that showcase.
It just shows you how badass they were back in the day. You know?
So the problem is this, you know, you had that little bit of a disconnect where ownership changed hands, and then we were in an era where some of these pieces, there was a distributor out there selling them off at the price you should have been selling them off, which put the value down on some of these pieces.
Yeah.
But you know, once they came back, I felt that they made a cool comeback with the hyper pieces, with the Huracans, but I think they milked it a little bit too long.
Yes.
That should have lasted a year, maybe two.
Yes.
And I know bigger is better, and I know it takes time for companies to catch on, but as you said, you bring back the sympathy. Do what Daniel Roth did.
Dude, first, yes.
Yeah, give me back the same exact watch.
Absolutely.
Don't do anything else.
Absolutely. And just make that as like, they coexist with the modern ones, and you have a little program that has those watches. You know what they have in their manufacturer? Because I went there like a couple of years ago. They have a drawer. Inside that drawer is 28 Lemania 2310s regulated by Roger Dubuis himself. So the chronograph movement that went into the H40, they still exist, and they were like regulated by the master himself.
So make the watches.
And then the other thing too, which I love what you said, is you had a pièce unique with this beautiful painting, right? Their enameling is stunning, right? Like back in the day, they had incredible miniature painting.
I'm gonna pull this watch up,
right?
Just for sake, argument's sake.
And they had this great enameler named Dominique Baron, who unfortunately passed away, but she was creating some of the most breathtaking watches and the highest quality as well. We're going to show you the image of the, dude. I mean, look at the color of that sky. You know, that is insane. That's so beautiful.
And then I'm going to show you. Luckily for us, iPhones, you can literally search for Roger. And here's the platinum minute repeater.
That's beautiful.
With the shaped crystal, 37 millimeters.
Right.
This thing is absolutely bunkers. And then Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
One of my favorite watches all time. And I'm not talking about in the brand, I'm talking about all time.
Right.
I think the craftsmanship that went into that, I think they showed the world how it should be done.
Absolutely.
There's another one in there right now, which is I think a third or fourth iteration, which I found to be absolutely amazing. Keep doing that.
Yes.
Don't stop doing that.
Yes.
Right? But yeah, again, it's like it was like a tease, right? When I saw it, because I prepared before I went in here, I put all the new novelties into a Word doc, I read up on them, and I said, okay, is this the start of going backwards? I guess they're somewhat stuck in the middle, but time will show.
Dude, I love your perspective on everything, Roman. I want to thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you.
I hope this is the first in a series of many videos that we do in the future, because I love listening to you. You know so much about watches.
I want to in turn thank you, because a lot of my knowledge originally comes from your actual print magazine. So to me, you're an OG, as I've always told you that in your face. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Peace, guys.